Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Look, there's been a lot of discussion about the different proposed changes, some positive and good that can result in higher levels of compensation, and others that are not so good, such as the reduction of sleep apnea, if treatable, down to 0%, or the elimination of tinnitus. Now, I want to just throw out some clarifications for folks on this so that way you understand what you can expect once these rules do go into effect. And answer that question, do I think that they will go into effect? So with that, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I truly appreciate it. The two asks are really, look, hit the thumbs up and let the video run. That helps put this into the hands of those that need it. All right, jumping into it, let's answer that first question here of, will the VA actually put into effect these rules? My answer is yes. And the reason why is because they have already implemented 9 rating schedule updates, proposed rules that have already been completed since 2017. I believe there are 5 left for them to update. So why would they stop in the middle would be the first question. The other piece is, when the VA proposes a rule, they put it onto the Federal Register, and then they also allow for public comment. Then they review all of the public comment, and then eventually they will implement a rule with or without changes to the original proposal. Now, the most recent one that I'm aware of that has went into effect would be a rule change regarding compensation for reservist and National Guard members, because as a reservist or National Guard member, you can apply for VA compensation and you can receive it. You just can't double dip. So they wanted to work in coordination with DOD to help eliminate double dipping on the front end. This rule change was put out as a proposed rule 5 years ago. And it did the same thing. Goes on the Federal Register, then public comments, and then they just implemented it with some changes in January of 2024. So that's a long time. You're talking about a 5-year time frame for that rule to be enacted, from proposal to enacted. So who's to say that a proposed rule from 2022 February isn't going to take 3, 4, 5 years to implement? Now, the last point on why I'm thinking that this will happen, but maybe not as soon as we think, is with the negative aspects of the rule change. Again, the elimination of tinnitus and the reduction of sleep apnea down to a 0 if you're deemed treatable, might have cascading effects during an election year. So the VA, may decide to hold off until next year or after in order to implement those specific changes. Now, the next question is, are you safe in the event that these changes go into effect? The answer is yes. If you are currently rated for sleep apnea or tinnitus, or any condition really, and they have a proposed rule that goes into effect changing effectively the rating schedule for that condition, your condition will be held to the standard of the rating schedule in which you were rated on when you got service connected. So you will be grandfathered in to the system at your current rating. So they're not going to take away your tinnitus rating. They're not going to reduce you from 50% to 0 if you have a CPAP. Now, the important piece here is for those that did not file for sleep apnea or tinnitus, you need to get on that. Now, some of you are in a situation where you cannot because you're still actually serving. But as soon as you are out, not even that, as soon as you're 6 months prior to your discharge date or retirement date, you should be filing your benefits delivery at discharge claim with the VA. That is BDD, Bravo Delta Delta, a BDD claim with the VA. You can file that up to 6 months prior to your exit from the military, and I would get my sleep apnea and my tinnitus on that application for service connection disability compensation. So now here's what I want to jump into. There's also these positive changes that are happening, and these positive changes could result in bumps to your individual rating for the various conditions, like we'll say mental health. Could be PTSD alone, could be a combination of different mental health things, but they are removing some barriers for that to get to the 100%. And this is going to be very important for you to know when it goes into effect, because if you don't know, then you won't file for an increase. So you need to pay attention, and once this rule goes into effect as written or proposed, then you will actually need to take action and file for an increase if it is going to be advantageous for you. I have read this before, and I'm going to read it one more time as kind of a public service announcement here. This is directly from the VA's website, and this came out back when they proposed the rule changes, February 15, 2022. So 2 years ago. And again, remember, it took 5 years for the last one to go into effect. So the headline is VA proposes updates to disability rating schedules for respiratory, auditory, and mental disorders body systems. In a news release posted today, and again, that was February of 2022, VA proposed changes to the VA schedule for rating disabilities, specifically pertaining to the respiratory, auditory, and mental disorder body systems. The changes would incorporate medical advancements for treating certain disabilities and modern medical knowledge to more accurately compensate veterans. Rating schedule are used to determine the appropriate level of compensation for each service-connected disability based on the severity of the condition as documented by supporting medical evidence. VA is in the process of updating all body systems in the rating schedule, to reflect modern evaluative criteria based on advancements in medical terminology, diagnostics, and treatment. On February 15th of 2022, the Veterans Benefits Administration will publish proposed rules in the Federal Register, which they did, regarding changes to the regulations for the two body systems: respiratory system, ear, nose, and throat conditions, and auditory disorders and mental disorders. Veterans and the public will have 60 days to comment on these proposed rules. Now that has gone and went. Since these are proposed changes, they will not affect evaluations of any veteran currently receiving compensation for an impacted disability. Okay? Instead, this is an opportunity for veterans and the public to comment on these proposed changes over the next 60 days. VA will consider the comments received and address them in a subsequent final rule, which is what we're waiting for, which will make these changes effective. Sorry, I'm sick. All right. Some of the proposed changes include modernizing the evaluation criteria for sleep apnea by evaluating it based on the symptoms, responsiveness to treatment. If symptoms are fully treated by a CPAP machine or other treatment, a veteran would be rated at 0% and not receive compensation. VA will award progressively higher percentage evaluations based upon how symptomatic the condition remains after treatment. This will bring the rating criteria for sleep apnea more closely in line with the stated purpose of the rating schedule, which is to provide evaluations based upon average impairment of earning capacity. For respiratory conditions such as asthma and COPD, the proposed rule would slightly lower the requirements for a 100% rating, making it easier to get a 100% rating. For tinnitus, the proposed changes would recognize that symptom within the veteran's broader ailment and provide service-connected compensation for tinnitus through the disease to which it is attributed. So They are saying they must find a disease that is causing you to have tinnitus, then rate you on that disease. So if you have Meniere's disease, then that's what you would be rated under. So this could, if they find a disease that gets you compensated for no matter what, if you have tinnitus, then that's good. However, if there are cases where you have tinnitus, but you don't have any disease to attribute it to, you just have tinnitus, so sorry, then that would not be good. So moving on, the proposed rule for mental health conditions would increase the minimum disability rating from 0 to 10%. So mental health is going to eliminate the 0% rating and start off at 10. The rule would get rid of the dated part of the rating schedule that prevents a veteran from getting 100% rating for a mental health condition if they are able to work. That is huge because remember, there is the total social and occupational impairment that is required for a 100% mental health rating. So they said here that the rule will get rid of the dated part of the rating schedule that prevents a veteran from getting a 100% rating for mental health condition if they're able to work. Moving on, VA will ensure veterans get compensation they need and deserve, especially when it comes to mental disorders. Under the proposed changes, VA plans to use new evaluation criteria to more accurately capture the different domains of impairment caused by mental health disabilities and provide more adequate compensation for financial losses experienced by veterans with service-connected mental disorders. Rather than assigning an evaluation based on the number and type of symptoms present, these changes would evaluate mental disorders based on how impactful the disability is across 5 domains of impairment: cognition, interpersonal interactions and relationships, task completion, life activities and navigating environments, and self-care. Those are the 5, which is a way more appropriate way to deal with that. So I'm glad that they're proposed that specific change. Moving on, veterans and their caregivers and other partners can read the proposed rule for themselves on the Federal Register and are welcome to provide feedback, although that window is closed. Moving on, once again, there will be no change to any veteran's current rating based on these proposed changes. When the proposed changes are finalized, veterans who currently receive compensation for a service-connected condition can apply for an increase in that compensation if they deem that that's appropriate, right? So like mental health would be a good example. And if a veteran's symptoms no longer warrant the current evaluation they have based on the finalized changes, no reductions shall be made unless an improvement in the veteran's disability is shown to have occurred based on the last schedule used to assign their evaluation. They're going to base everything on your old rating schedule that you had when you got service connected. So if you're still using a CPAP and you were rated 50% and you're still using a CPAP, you're going to stay at 50%. Again, since 2017, VA has updated the rating schedule for 9 body systems, and I believe there's 5 more to go. So with that, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.